It's back to you, Mark.
My thanks to Elizabeth Callahan, who returns in an hour's time. Welcome to a busy Mark Dolan tonight, your perfect Saturday night in. Now listen, we need a microphone, don't we, on live telly. Don't you just love live telly? Can I tell you that GBNews is such an efficient company that the presenters sort out their own microphone. Is this on? There you go. Director Andy will be so proud. So listen, folks, here we go. See, it's important, isn't it, that from time to time you prove that it's live. You watch Anton Deck, okay? You watch, I don't know, This Morning, whoever presents that these days. It's all rehearsed, it's all scripted, it's all pre-recorded, but this show is live, as you have witnessed. And folks, we've got a busy show for you. In my big opinion, Welsh First Minister Mark Drakeford says goodbye. Well, I say good riddance. And why it's time for people to stop announcing that they've got COVID and get on with their lives. In the big story, with Christmas round the corner, are pantomimes now outdated? We'll debate that with two top panto stars live in the studio. My Mark Meets guest is one of the big stars of 90s pop music, Jimmy Constable, who went from booze and drugs hell to fame and glory. In my take at 10, my reaction to the Duke of Sussex's phone hacking victory. Sorry, Harry, you're no victim. Also, why is Rod Stewart leaving America to come back and live in Britain? Meanwhile, a top US mayor has banned white people from an official Christmas party. We'll get the inside story from the Queen of US showbiz, royal and political reporting, Kinsey Schofield. Plus tomorrow's papers at 10:30 sharp with three top pundits who haven't been told what to say and who don't follow the script tonight. Olympic gymnast and TV personality Lisa Mason, by far the bendiest pundit I've had on that sofa for a long time. Also, a man whose body is a temple, the athletic Paul Richards, former Labour advisor, and iconic dancer, actor, and of course national treasure, Wayne Sleep. Never normally see him sitting down. He's normally on his feet and moving around very elegantly. Well, he'll do that later. Tonight, I'll be asking the pundits, with drunk colleagues and work flotations spilling over into lust, and with the annual misuse of the company photocopier, are office Christmas parties asking for trouble? Well, let me tell you that it is 9:07 right now, and the GBNews Christmas party is alive and kicking. It's happening. I don't have too much information other than that Tom Harwood has been arrested and Bev Turner is having her collar felt. So listen, folks, I'll bring you the latest from the GBNews party very shortly. I've also just found out, didn't know this, that we're 2 years old today. And the only reason why is thanks to you. Thank you for your support. If you're enjoying the show, if you're enjoying the channel, tell your friends, tell your family, and let's change the world together. Now, you can email me throughout the show, mark@gbnews.com. This programme has a golden rule. We don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. A big 2 hours to come. We start with my big opinion. There's an old saying, all political careers end in failure. Well, the outgoing First Minister of Wales, Mark Drakeford, managed failure throughout his career, with an NHS on its knees, councils close to bankruptcy, unpopular 20-mile-an-hour zones slowing down an already sluggish Welsh economy, and 3 years of absurd COVID tyranny, like taping off the toy department of big supermarkets and bonus lockdowns not suffered in England. And as with all despots, Drakeford was the king of double standards, doing his best dad dancing during COVID whilst ordering everyone else to socially distance. Well, thank God the great Welsh people are now distanced from him. Wales is a fabulous country. I've got so many viewers and listeners in Wales, and they deserve great leadership. All we've had from the fiery Welsh dragon in recent years is hot air. Now, I broke the internet this week. That's right, I broke the internet this week with this humble tweet. Here's what I said. I said, call me old-fashioned, but it might be time for people to stop announcing they have COVID. Well, it was watched and looked at by many people. Now, COVID can be a nasty virus for some, but so can flu. The wild pandemic overreaction has turned us into a bunch of hypochondriacs. I've got COVID is announced like a badge of honour. Sorry, folks, getting a seasonal respiratory virus is not an achievement. And frankly, with our economy in the toilet, whether you've got COVID or not, as long as you're not at death's door, I think you should get to work. With people now staying at home for the most minor sniffle and endlessly testing themselves, the real pandemic is work-shy Brits. And unlike COVID, that is fatal. Now, King Charles has led tributes at Barry Humphries State Memorial. A genius comedian who was, of course, the creator of housewife-turned-superstar Dame Edna Everage, reminding us of a golden era when men dressing as women was actually popular with the public. Oh dear, a week to forget for North London Labour MP Stella Creasy, who sent the following tweet. As I walk past everyone going to Christmas parties and Christmas drinks, on my way to get the kids from nursery, I'm yet again acutely aware the motherhood penalty is the gift that keeps on giving. Not just flexible working, we need flexible networking too. Oh dear, my heart bleeds. Here is the world's smallest violin. Who knew that having kids meant that you'd miss parties and social events? Well, the public has spoken. On Twitter, this is what they call death by ratio. The tweet has been looked at 1 million times with less than 1,000 likes. Ouch. The narcissism and victimhood here is strong. God knows how many social and networking events I've missed since becoming a father, and I couldn't be happier. 2 amazing kids. Look, I'm sure that she's a good and dedicated MP and doubtless a nice person. But I don't feel sorry for Stella Creasy one bit. The people I do feel sorry for are her kids. What a strange thing to say. Sounds like they need a night off more than she does. The prized Mark Dolan Tonight No Shit Sherlock Award goes to the lingerie company Victoria's Secret, who have scrapped their ultra-woke campaign of body positivity, featuring plus-size models wearing their famous panties and bras. The campaign, which features real women with real bodies on the catwalk and on their posters, has seen a significant drop in the sales of Victoria's Secret lingerie. Now, don't get me wrong, many of these plus-size models, who are perhaps size 16 or above, are beautiful women. They're voluptuous, they have a natural body. Far better than the waif-like anorexics we were subjected to in the 1990s. But I'm uneasy with the messaging from the fashion industry in either instance. I'm worried about the message that it's healthy to be shockingly thin or that it's healthy to be overweight. Neither is true. The truth is that men modelling underwear for Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger and women modelling for Victoria's Secret have got to look impossibly good. It's their job to look better than you and me naked. And if you're offended by that, well, get over yourself in your big knickers. These models have got to be unattainably beautiful. That's what sells the product, and that is the fantasy. Spending the next 10 years in the gym couldn't get me close to looking like the brilliant Marks & Spencer's model David Gandy. And so be it. He's perfect, and he's the one flogging the boxer shorts, not me. And that's okay. When people look at adverts for underwear, they want the dream, not reality. We need a bit of escape, because let's be honest, reality is overrated. The failed campaign from Victoria's Secret was pants. Welcome back. Listen, your reaction, Mark, at GBNews.com. Let's talk to Olympic gymnast and TV personality Lisa Mason, former Labour advisor Paul Richards, and dancer and actor Wayne Sleep. Let me start with you, if I may, Lisa. Body positivity. This campaign has not been successful for Victoria's Secret. Your reaction?
I think there needs to be a happy medium, because ultimately I'm getting very tired of people saying body positivity when they're extremely overweight. That's not positive in my eyes. If you want to have, you know, normal bodies, then use normal bodies, not the anorexics, not the ones that are heavily overweight. You know, there needs to be a body positivity for a happy medium that is attainable for most people, you know?
What do you think, Wayne? Are plus-size models beautiful?
Well, quite frankly, if you're going on the catwalk, you've got to obey the rules. And it is made for slim women, but the sizes do stretch for outsized other people. In fact, I know a lot of men who like wearing knickers. So why aren't they on the catwalk as well?
You might be sitting next to one. Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, have you seen this in your business as a dancer? Pressure on women to be ultra thin, maybe unhealthily so.
No, we've had it the opposite way round. They say that dancers are too anorexic, and they're saying they're so thin. But those people are as strong as oxes, and they start on Pilates at 9 in the morning. You have to look like a racehorse. Slim line in your muscles, not like some weightlifter. If you were doing that in the air, you'd look a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, listen, you've achieved miraculous weight loss yourself. How much did you lose, if it's not a personal question?
10 stone now.
Congratulations.
Wow.
It's an amazing achievement. You look fantastic.
Yeah, so from 22 stone. The thing that annoys me looking back, though, is that there are so many websites that are selling clothes to very fat men, normalising it. And you can get your plus sizes very easily on the internet and sort of make it perfectly OK, even if you can't buy clothes in shops. And I feel that was a little bit exploitative, frankly. It would have been better if somebody said, look, you need to lose the weight, otherwise you can't buy the clothes.
And what about small sizes for small men?
Well, quite, yeah.
Well, that's right. I mean, you are, you know, on the shorter side.
I don't qualify for anything.
Yes.
In fact, for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, I was going to do a one-man show, but you have to be under 4'9", and I'm 5'2".
Absolutely robbed. Absolutely robbed. But listen, in many other ways, you are a giant, Wayne, and never forget that. What about COVID? Listen, Paul.
Yeah.
It was a nasty virus. We lost too many from it, but I still know people announcing on social media that they've got COVID, like it's leprosy or the bubonic plague.
We have to take it seriously, though. I was a bit disappointed with your intro there, because people are still getting very poorly, and people who are vulnerable anyway and then getting it, you know, doubly vulnerable. So it's something we have to take very seriously. And we don't know if there's going to be a new strain of this out next year, the year after, where we all have to go back into lockdown and we all see the hospitals chock full again. So let's not make jokes about it. It is still a serious thing, and it's still out there.
I do take your point, but the flu can also be very, very
we need to
serious.
talk about that too, don't we?
And the flu is actually...
to get your vaccine and get that, you know, out of the way as well, right?
I think in particular the flu can actually kill children, unlike COVID. But the issue we've got is people who feel fine, but they're testing themselves, and then it says a positive test for COVID. At what point, Paul, do we just get on with our lives and accept COVID in the way that we do accept flu?
Well, we don't want people in the workplace with viruses. We want them at home. If they want to stay at home, if they want to tweet about it,
back in the day,
I don't want them in the office making us all the rest of us ill, do we?
But if someone's got a cold and flu, do they stay at home?
Well, they should.
They should, but they won't.
We don't want them on the tube.
Off.
We don't want them on the buses. We don't want them in the office.
Wayne, I can imagine that you are the king of the show must go on. I bet you've performed in all sorts of physical states.
Sprained ankles, the lot. Just strap it up and get on
No
with
one can catch a sprained ankle, can they? But we can catch a virus.
Well, I could arrange it for you, dear.
There you go. We'll get you jabbed before we know where you are. Fascinating stuff. Look, what do you think? If you've got COVID, do you stay home or do you just accept that it's like a bad cold? Let me know. I do take Paul's point that people are very poorly with it. So let me know your thoughts. Mark at gbnews.com. Now, with Christmas around the corner, it's Panto season, and that time of the year in which Widow Twanky gets her fishnet tights out and Mother Goose gets a good stuffing. So, have pantomime stood the test of time, or are they outdated? Is their popularity behind them? We'll debate that next.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GBNews, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life: your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquia, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle.
Could you be quiet? What is this? Well, if you...
It's my new teeth.
It's your new teeth.
I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is it? We're here for the show.
Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie, second best. You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with you three.
Oh! No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour. Sundays on GB News.
Listen, if you get COVID, should you just get on with your life now? Is it time to stop testing, treat it like the flu? Let's have a look at this from Joe, who says, Mark, I agree with you. Surely if these folks have had the COVID jab, COVID shouldn't be an issue. I don't bother testing. It's that time of year for bugs and viruses. Keep those emails coming, mark@gbnews.com. It is, folks, that time of the year, and it's Panto season. So, is Panto a lot of good, honest family fun, or is it outdated? Is there popularity behind them? To debate this, I'm delighted to welcome the stars of Peter Pan, the arena spectacular, touring the length and breadth of the UK this festive season. Ben Afwedu, good friend of the show, and Jordan Conway. Boys, welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
Neither of you dressed as Widow Twanky.
No.
Well, I tried.
He tried.
Yeah,
but you didn't quite get it right.
Not quite.
You look good, though. You look good.
It's funny because when I came into work today, I don't know if you got, but I was actually quite literally a pussy in boots.
I like that.
My man's got jokes. Here we go.
I do like that. Those boots are great.
That'll do. Now, listen, you're both looking sharp. First of all, Ben, Panto, why, you're a man that's, you know, you've got a lot of requests on your time. You're a busy guy. You're in demand.
Yeah.
Why did you say yes to Panto?
Love Panto. It's one of the last great British traditions, and I'm quite patriotic. That a lot of people don't know that. And also, it's I spend the whole year being quite serious, DJing and singing and stuff like that. And Panto is the only space or the only time in the calendar where people kind of want you to win. You walk on stage and the crowd, make me laugh, say something, you know, be funny. And it's that kind of thing. It's very, very welcoming. Where sometimes in the music business, if you're singing on stage or you're making records or you're DJing, you're trying to entertain the crowd. And don't get me wrong, Panto, you're entertaining. Yeah. But the crowd are like, entertain me. But Panto's like, entertain me. Do you know what I mean? So it's slightly different.
I think it's just amazing, isn't it, what Ben's saying there, Jordan, because you've got Panto, right? It's 2023. Youngsters have got the Xbox and they've got Netflix and they've got God knows what else, podcasts, YouTube, the lot. But they still go and see Panto. Why is it still popular?
I can't tell you that, but what I can tell you is that I agree with your point, that Panto is outdated. It's an old-fashioned tradition, but the whole point of what we're doing is to update it. And what we're doing isn't a Panto, it's an event, it's a show, it's the biggest Panto the world's has ever seen.
It's got an amazing cast, both of you are in it, and Boy George.
For sure, but as good as George is, and he's amazing in the show, he's not what the show's about. Yeah. The show is taking Panto traditions and extending that and make it more current and updated. And like the show is essentially a circus show. It's a circus show. It's the most immersive thing you've seen, and it goes further than that. He's behind your tradition, which it still has values of.
Yes. Well, I think we got to kind of keep the tradition with it.
For sure, but it's more than that.
Yeah.
It's more than a panto.
Now, listen, you are the busiest man in showbiz because I think you performed this afternoon in an emergency show, is that right?
Yeah.
In Bournemouth. What did you do today?
Yeah, I did Elf the Musical this morning, and then I got called up here, so...
So you were like an understudy, which means that you're prepared to step in if somebody else falls ill, is that right?
You know all the roles, don't you? Every single role in the show, you know.
I was assistant directing on Elf, and one of the understudies was ill, so I had to go on for them.
Oh, my good God. The other nice thing about Panto, and I know yours is kind of old and new kind of thing, but your show, as with all other Panto, it's a bit naughty, isn't it?
You know what? This particular one isn't. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of double entendres in Panto.
I didn't know you spoke French.
Yeah, I do. That's the only French I know,
Okay,
double entendre, and je m'appelle Benedict, but that's another story.
Dos cervezas, por favor.
Yeah, 2 beers, mate.
Is that what it means?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yes, but, you know, I think scriptwriters and Jordan wrote this script as well. I think they're incredible because, you know, the jokes kind of have to totally miss the kids in order for it to work. You know, like the double entendres have to miss the kids. But this one is actually a very clean family show, and it's incredible. It's huge, you know, and Panto's usually done in theatres, and this is almost experimental, but it's really, really working. You know, because in a theatre, you know, you get the nuances. You know, it's about 1,500 people's maximum. We're doing like 8,000, 9,000 people, so
it's a big arena, and it's Peter Pan. So is it pyrotechnics? Is there a lot of
explosions, still walkers? He's swinging from chandeliers. Well, not chandeliers, but the actual ropes.
Because you are Peter Pan.
I do. I am Peter Pan.
That's it. Have you had any injuries in rehearsal? Because that's a challenging role, isn't it?
My life is a constant injury.
Ego and your body. Yeah. But look at that. I mean, this is footage from the show, right? I mean, that's Panto on steroids, isn't it?
For sure, but that's what I'm saying. It's not a Panto.
Yeah.
It's more than that. It's an event. It's a massive arena show. The whole thing of our show is that it's immersive. So we bring the action to the audience.
Yes.
And we have a life-size galleon ship sailing around.
Unbelievable.
We have a cannonball fight with them.
Well, look, I'm going to give details of the show. Tickets still available and going around the country. So up north,
around the country. Yeah, we're in Birmingham, and then we go to Aberdeen. We go to Glasgow.
Brilliant.
We come back to Nottingham,
and then we finish in Hammersmith.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, look, I'll give all the details. So that is very exciting. You put me in a Christmassy mood. Well, let's speak to star of stage and screen, a man who's treaded the boards for his whole career, Wayne Sleep, who's my pundit tonight. Wayne, what do you think? Has Panto had its day?
Oh, no, it hasn't.
Oh, yes, it has!
No, of course not. It's based on fairy tales. Children love fairy tales, Cinderella and all those different plays. It hasn't had its day, and traditionally it's been there. It's the first thing a whole family sees together and goes to the theatre. And it's got to be good, and you've got to keep them wanting to come back. If they see a disastrous pantomime, which there can be, where it's full of people who can't act, sing or dance, I'm only saying that because I couldn't get one this year. Oh, yes, I haven't.
Yes, yeah.
But it'll be here, and it's the first thing a family sees, so it must impress the whole family in order to be coming back again. And the perfect Panto is that it's on one level for the adults, but the children don't understand it, but you keep the story going for the children.
Wayne, do you think we'll still be going to the Panto in 100 years' time?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I don't know what you replace it with. You tell me.
No, definitely. And, of course, you'll be Big Dick, won't you, in 100 years' time?
Well, I mean, if I shrink that small, I will be Big Dick in comparison.
Dick Whittington, of course, I'm referring to. Wayne, listen, we'll catch you shortly. Let me tell you that Peter Pan, an arena spectacular, is touring arenas across the length and breadth of the UK until the 7th of January 2024. It is the hot ticket this Christmas. Get your tickets at peterpantix.com. peterpantix.com. Brilliant stuff, boys. Thank you. Catch you soon.
Thank you.
Good luck with those shows.
Cheers.
Now, how would you like to win £10,000 in cash, brand new tech and shopping vouchers? Well, you could be the winner of our very first Great British giveaway. Here are all the details of how you could make those prizes yours.
This week, we're launching the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to grab some amazing prizes and start your new year the right way. You could win an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Imagine having all of that extra cash in your bank account. We'll also bring you bang up to date with the very latest iPhone 15 Pro Max. And we'll give you £500 worth of shopping vouchers to spend in the store of your choice. For your chance to win the iPhone, the vouchers and £10,000 cash, text GBWIN to 84902. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB01, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday the 5th of January. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Good luck.
I'll be dealing with Prince Harry in my take at 10 in just 30 minutes' time. It's a big one, you won't want to miss it. But next up with tonight's top pundits, with drunk colleagues and work flotations spilling over into lust, and with the annual misuse of the company photocopier, are office Christmas parties asking for trouble? I'll bring you the inside story on the GB News Christmas party, which is happening as we speak. See you in 2. Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Having you? OK, well, look, the emails are coming in thick and fast. Big response to my big opinion. Should we treat COVID like the regular flu now? I know too many people announcing on social media they've got COVID, like they want an award. Well, listen, Dan says, hi, Mark, we never had testing kits for flu, so I ask, why are COVID tests still available? Get rid of them. On this also, Lee says, please just quote me as Lee on this email, Mark. I had to nip into the office to collect some equipment. I've had the sniffles for a few days now. It's that time of year. A colleague said, you could kill me, you know. My response was, what? I've got a cold and a runny nose. Get a grip of yourself. Expletives deleted. There you go. Has Panto had its day? Helen in Worthing, lovely part of the country. Hi, Helen. Helen says, I've not been for some time. Whilst I would not like to see them finish, it's just a case that I can't get out in the evenings. I know it's a shame that there are some people that are not able to go to the theatre. They can't afford it, or perhaps they have a disability. Maybe we should have more Panto on the telly at this time of year. Maybe there should be a GB News Panto. Would you watch that?
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Who would be the pantomime dame? Surely Nigel.
We're choreographed.
There you go. My pundits will choreograph that. Of course, Lisa Mason and Wayne Sleep, who are with us in just a moment. Last thing, the plus-size models have not been successful for Victoria's Secret, who are a lingerie company. Peter in Bath says, good evening, Mark. I think it's time that the sale of Lycra should be restricted to responsible sellers only. It should be something aspirational, and the sellers should assess the buyer to see if they fit the required criteria to purchase Lycra. If they are obese, in-store counselling should be offered.
Wow.
Thank you for your very, very dry and witty email, Peter. Keep them coming. I love your emails. It's always the best part of the show. Reacting to the big stories of the day, tonight's top pundits, Olympic gymnast and TV personality Lisa Mason, former Labour advisor Paul Richards, and dancer, actor and national treasure Wayne Sleep. Well, it wouldn't be Christmas without the office Christmas party, a time for colleagues to relax after a hard year and let their hair down, and for bosses to reward them with a few free drinks. But are office Christmas parties an occupational hazard, with colleagues saying what they really think of each other after a few drinks, company flirtations spilling over into lust, and, of course, the inevitable bum selfie on the photocopy machine? So are office Christmas parties asking for trouble? Well, let me tell you that ours is happening tonight as we speak. It's now 9:36, and lots of people are at the GB News office Christmas party. I think Liam Halligan's there, Tom Harwood, of course, all the bosses as well. One or two celebrity politicians. Producer Greg is there, absolutely bladdered, I'm told. Can't remember his own name. And I think we've got a bit of video of what's happening at the GB News party. This is a genuine video. And look at that! Oh. Mark Dolan tonight is on the big screen. And there's some fabulous... Look at my brilliant colleagues over there.
There's not much dancing going on.
Over there.
It's too civilised.
There's Noah, of course. And who's that fine strapping lad? I've not met him before. Is that Dave in accounts? And there's Mick, one of our glorious bosses, icon of Fleet Street. There you go. We're a bit naughty because it's kind of a private event. But listen, I share everything with you. We'll see. We'll get you more tidbits on what's happening at the GB News Christmas party. But they've obviously got plenty of entertainment because they're watching this show on the big screen. Let's give them a wave right now. OK, so look, folks, what we're going to do is... Can I just tell you, by the way, that my brilliant producers tonight, Maria and Mescana and myself, of course, we've taken one for the team. We're out working. But we had our own Christmas party before the show. We called Deliveroo. They delivered a bit of a Mackie D's. Other burger outlets are available. There's lovely Mescana. There's lovely Maria. Working hard, as you can see, putting together a very big show for your good selves. OK, office Christmas party. Asking for trouble. Paul.
Are there 3 words in the English language more likely to make your heart sink than the office Christmas party? And I defy anyone to tell me they've ever enjoyed one, ever.
Well, this is the problem. You either have a good time, and that could be career-ending, or you have a miserable time.
They're terrible. They're terrible.
And there is one reason why, and one word alone, which is alcohol, didn't we say? Because people are different when they've had a drink. They start saying what they really think of each
I
other.
think it's because they're compulsory. I think you have to go and you have to suck up to the boss and you have to be seen to be there and you have to get a babysitter and you have to be late home. Indeed, nobody wants to be there. They just have to be there.
Yes. You must be a veteran of a few Christmas parties.
Yes.
I would have thought.
Well, around Westminster, of course, it's the season and they're every night. But they're all about, you know, who's doing what to who and gossip and rumour and who's going to defenestrate who and all that. It's no fun to be had at all.
No. Have you witnessed any bad behaviour at any of those
of course
bashes?
not. What, in the House of Commons? Never.
Pure probity
Not once.
at all times.
Absolutely not.
Well, it's hard to ask you, Wayne, because you're a legend of showbiz. So
Yes.
showbiz parties, that's not really an office party, is it?
No, it's a first night party. After the first night,
Yes.
royalty, so you're on your best behaviour anyway at Covent Garden, because there's always a rule on an opening night. But when they've gone, it all changes.
Yeah.
But I do like them in one way, and I like to arrive late and leave early. And, you know, so I don't get in a mess.
Quite good.
But I meet people that are the backstage boys who never get credit for what they've done, because to every person of 80 dancers at the Royal Ballet on stage, there's a staff of 2,000.
Wow.
Right,
You know,
right,
the costume makers, the wig people, the front of house box office who we never see, who sell the tickets for it.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful that you just suddenly are able to meet those people and say thank you.
Well, I think that's exactly right. Lisa, have you had any office Christmas parties?
Well, mine are normally gym members, so... do you know what it is? I think it's very different. I mean, it's compulsory. It's never compulsory when I've had one.
No.
And I think it's very different when you're in, like, an office environment or something like that. Do you really want to be partying with people that you do? No. But, you know, I think it's a bit different when you're in the arts or you're in sports. They become like a family with you as opposed to just work colleagues.
Of course.
So.
Isn't it nice to let your hair down with the people that you've been working hard with, though? Isn't that the plus side of a work do?
No.
Do you not think? Because I think that's quite nice. For example, Paul, you know, let's say you've got your colleagues and it's been a challenging year, and you can actually just see a different side to your colleagues. You might even repair a few issues. But, you know, over a drink, I never liked Dave in sales, but actually we had a few beers. Turns out he's a legend.
I think it's the exact opposite. I think people's nasty strings come out. They start gossiping about each other. Flirtations all become more than they should be. Not good news.
Going back to the alcohol, I mean, there is a history of alcohol and politics not mixing.
Yes.
Good example would be Partygate during the pandemic.
Well, of course, yeah.
But
I did a tour with somebody at Parliament day before yesterday.
Yeah.
She was astonished how many bars there are.
Amazing.
How cheap it is.
Yeah.
And the fact that people drinking during the day in a way that in most offices now you do not get anymore.
Do you think that it's inappropriate for alcohol to be sold in the House of Commons?
Personally, I do, and I know enough MPs
Really?
who've suffered from it. I don't want to sound Grinch-like, but there are enough MPs with drink problems.
Yeah.
Because somebody will always buy you a drink.
Yeah.
And even if they don't, it's cheap anyway, and it's ubiquitous and available all day long. And there's not many workplaces where you can get away with that.
Do you think alcohol and work mix, Wayne?
No, I do not. But not especially with the Royal Ballet.
Alexander, you couldn't be drunk, could you? I mean, that would be disastrous.
But I
Could
do
you imagine?
remember, I mean, I won't say any names, but in the opera, in the chorus, they'd sometimes have to wait till 11:30 at night to get on for the final scene.
Oh, yes.
And there was a bar in the canteen of the Opera House years ago, and some quite funny stories went on there. Guys forgetting to take their watches off when they're a monk in Turandot.
Of course.
You see them later go to the amphitheatre.
Because by
Not
the
got
time-
their wigs on, probably, then bald wig on, probably all the hair hanging below.
Probably the best scene of the night.
Yes, probably. But I must say that I think this was noted, and when they rebuilt the Opera House, there is no bar backstage.
Oh, shame.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, you're a gymnast, so alcohol and work, that definitely doesn't mix, does it? Or can you get into more dramatic positions?
Let's just say there's been a few coaches coming in, and I'm like, you've been out.
Yes.
You've definitely been out. Don't think you should be spotting anyone.
Have you ever tried to do gymnastics under the influence?
Yes.
What
Absolutely.
happens?
I'm like a cat, though. I always land on my feet, so I can do a somersault generally and just pow, and I'm like a ninja.
Basically, you style it out.
Yes, absolutely. And then we do a little
Yeah.
Am I
Did
good?
you ever know you'd landed? After
the next day, because my feet. But
It's
yeah.
all coming out. It's all coming out. Fascinating stuff. Do you have any office Christmas party stories? Let me know, Mark at gbnews.com. Now, coming up, looking forward to this, in my take at 10, my reaction to the Duke of Sussex's phone hacking victory. I'm sorry, Harry, you're no victim. First up, my Mark Meets guest, one of the big stars of 90s pop music, a man who went from selling 6 million albums worldwide to booze and drugs hell, but he got through it, and his story is deeply inspiring. Jimmy Constable from 911 is next.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquare, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle. Could you be quiet? What is this?
It's my new teeth.
It's your new teeth. I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie. Second best. You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with these 3.
Oh!
No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour. Sundays on GB News.
Coming up, I should say, in my take at 10, my reaction to the Duke of Sussex's phone hacking victory. Sorry, Harry, you're no victim. That's my take at 10 in just 10 minutes' time. You won't want to miss it. A couple of emails before we get to Mark Meets. Is the office Christmas party asking for trouble? This from Philip. Hi, Mark. Back in 1974, I enjoyed my first office party. Someone brought in some homemade strawberry wine. I ended up having a snog with Angela in the ladies. She was my first work crush. I was in my late teens. Philip, you old devil. Congratulations. Where is Angela now? Is it worth reaching out, getting the 2 of you back together again? John says, when I used to work in the catering game in London, we never used to have our parties till February. So whilst everyone else is enjoying their Christmas parties, people in hospitality don't get their Christmas parties until January or February. Richard, what I hate about office Christmas parties is looking for a job the next day. Brilliant. Thank you, Richard. Pantomime Panto. Has Panto had its day is the other big topic tonight. Westminster has a continuous Panto, but it's not funny, says Martin. John says, Mark, when I was a kid, I used to go to Wimbledon Theatre to watch pantomimes, but also my dad worked for Watney's Brewery in Mortlake in London. They used to hire Richmond Theatre and send all the workers' children to a panto show. Isn't that a lovely idea? Those were the days, John. I remember Watney's, my dad. Sir Robert Peel pub. He used to sell plenty of Watney's gear, let me tell you. OK, folks, it's time now for Mark Meets. Watney's Red Barrel, those were the days. It is time for Mark Meets, and one of the stars of the 90s pop scene, Jimmy Constable, from the popular boy band 911. The debut album, The Journey, was released in 1997 and was certified gold a matter of weeks later. By the time they broke up in 1999, 911 had 10 UK top 10 singles and had sold 6 million albums worldwide. As well as a successful solo career, Jimmy reunited with his old bandmates for the big reunion tour and a fourth best-selling album. But it hasn't all been plain sailing. Following the breakup of the band, Jimmy descended into his own version of booze and drugs hell. But his love of music and songwriting saw him prevail over his demons. So, Jimmy Constable, Merry Christmas and welcome to GB News.
How are you, Mark? You all right?
I'm really well. Buzzing to have you on the show. You've got so many fans. You've had massive success in the 90s. How did you cope with the wealth and fame at the time?
I think you know, the music business for a lot of, there's a lot of people that will probably have the same story, but I think it's hard because you're kind of in a whirlwind, and you're at events all the time. You're constantly touring. As you say, that your finances are great. You're really enjoying it. But I think, like you kind of touched on, is when it comes to an end is the time when it's like, when you've been in it all your life, you wake up and you think, I don't know what I'm going to do next, because your life has been the band and traveling, and it all sounds very glamorous and stuff. But yeah, it was hard to come to an end and kind of think to myself, well, I honestly don't know what I'm going to do. So as you suggested, I tended to drink and drugs. Not everybody kind of deals with it that way. But unfortunately, that was a spiral for me at the time.
Yeah, real shock to the system. Of course, you're a massive star. It's a bit like when someone's in the Premier League playing football in front of 50,000 people every Saturday, and then suddenly they're not a footballer anymore. How bad did things get, Jimmy?
Yeah, the weird thing was we used to have what they called a job sheet that would be posted through, not job sheet, like a day sheet where we posted through your hotel door in the morning. Go, right, you're doing a Smash Hits magazine photo shoot. You're flying to France to do, I don't know, their version of Top of the Pops. You're coming back. You're doing Top of the Pops over here, flying off somewhere else, or you're touring to Asia. So it was an amazing experience. But yeah, I think when it came to an end, I kind of found like, not only not knowing what to do with myself, but also I didn't really know how to numb the pain, which I kind of like turned to alcohol. And I kind of spent, especially the first year after the split, God knows how much alcohol I consumed, but I kind of got to the point where alcohol wasn't kind of numbing it anymore. So obviously that's when I kind of turned to drugs and stuff. And it's hard to kind of get yourself out of it. And obviously with a lot of therapy and friends and family, I kind of got myself through it, and I'm still lucky to still be in the music business now and carry on touring. We're constantly in Asia at the minute because it's taken off for us again. So yeah, I'm very thankful. But yeah, you're right. I had a turbulent time.
You look an absolute $1 million. Congratulations on your recovery, Jimmy. Now, I know the songwriting has really helped you along the way. Plus, the band are still incredibly popular, as you mentioned. I think at the moment you're getting about 300,000 streams on Spotify every month. And so, you are still in demand. You've got your fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're very lucky at the minute because I think there's a bit of because of the time that we came out, it's a 90s revival at the minute. There's a lot of 90s acts doing arenas and all the rest of it. But, randomly off the back of it, a song that I wrote for my wife for our wedding day, called I Do, suddenly exploded in Asia. And we went over there, we toured, and I think that the video we did over there is 58 million views at the minute. And it's
amazing.
It's a bit crazy. I speak to people that are not just 90s, but 80s, Tony Hadley and other people that I've been doing it for many, many years, and we all say the same thing. It's like you've got to be at a point where you've got to be thankful for everything because, as you say, we're still in it, we're still touring, we're still enjoying it. There's a lot of bands that don't get the opportunities that we do. So, you know, touch wood, we are very, very thankful and very humble that we can still do it at our age.
Yeah, well, class is permanent. I'll ask you briefly at the end how people can find out more about what you're up to and hopefully see you live. Briefly, if you can, Jimmy, you had a bit of a career change temporarily during the pandemic. You did your bit for the cause, didn't you?
I did. Basically, what happened was a guy called Tony Morrison, who was our tour manager for about 10 years, owns a company called Fast Ambulance based in Bath. And we'd literally just finished the tour because of COVID. They closed the doors and said, right, we can't do any more shows. Oh, look at the state of that. Look at the uniform on that.
I like a man in uniform.
So he basically, as a joke, really said, well, why don't you come down and retrain and we'll do some bits and you can keep busy. And then I suppose a part of me was saying I didn't really want to just sit at home twiddling my thumbs. So, you know, I kind of basically retrained and, you know, driving people, you know, to hospital and to home during the whole COVID. The pandemic, the whole thing. It was an absolute eye opener for me. But I'm so glad that I kind of did it. And to this day, to be honest, I still do bits and pieces, not on the ambulance side, you know, that side of it, but some training for some of Tony's staff because obviously, you know, I live up near Cambridge, and because he has an office up here, occasionally I'll go and help out for him. But I've got to admit, it was an amazing experience. And we all know what's happened during the pandemic and what's after it and all the stories that are now coming out. And obviously I saw it firsthand, you know, delivering, you know, old dears to homes and stuff. And it was a crazy, crazy time for everybody. Yeah, it was enjoyable.
Well, listen, you're a hero during the pandemic, a hero of pop music. I've only got a couple of seconds. How can our viewers and listeners find out about where they can see you here in Britain?
We've got all the usual, you know, social medias, now one official. A lot of the 90s arenas are coming up. So, all the social...
911, you're a star. Jimmy Constable will catch up soon. I'll be dealing with Harry right this.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Jonathan Vautry here with your GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. Rain warnings are in force across Western Scotland throughout this evening and overnight, with potential for a month's worth of rain falling by the time we reach the end of the weekend. So do take care here. Elsewhere it will be a drier night, still some outbreaks of drizzle to watch out for, and the cloud will also be thickening in. Where you hold on to a few clearer spells, you might see the odd mist patch, temperatures perhaps getting down into 6-7 degrees Celsius, but elsewhere it will be an unseasonably mild night, not falling much lower than 10 or 11 degrees Celsius for Northern Ireland and Scotland. That rain then in place still for Western Scotland. It will be persistent throughout the day on Sunday. Potential for flooding and transport disruption, even some landslides due to this amount of rainfall. Again, England and Wales should stay drier, the cloud wanting to break its way up into the afternoon, particularly to the eastern side of the country. Temperatures here again 11, perhaps ranging into 13 degrees Celsius. As we head into Monday, that frontal system that is stuck across northern Scotland will slowly drift its way southwards, now spreading more into Northern Ireland, Northern England, parts of Wales as well. Will turn into quite a drab, dreary and damp day for many of us. The far southeast perhaps staying drier, still with a fair amount of cloud around, but some brighter spells pushing their way into the far northwest of Scotland with a few showers, but also some fresher and cooler conditions. So temperatures will be falling their way off across northern areas of the UK as we head throughout next week. Bye-bye.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 o'clock, and perhaps you've just got in from the pub. On TV, on radio, and online. In the United Kingdom and across the world, this is Mark Dolan tonight. Busy show to come. It might take at 10 my reaction to the Duke of Sussex's phone hacking victory. Sorry, Harry, you're no victim. Why is Rod Stewart leaving America to come back and live in Britain? Meanwhile, a top US mayor has banned white people from an official Christmas party. We'll get the inside story from the Queen of US showbiz, royal and political reporting, Kinsey Schofield. Plus, tomorrow's newspaper front pages and live reaction in the studio from tonight's top pundits. So, a packed programme, lots to get through. I'll be dealing with Prince Harry. In 2 minutes' time, you won't want to miss it. First, the headlines and Elizabeth Callaghan.
Thanks, Mark. I'm Elizabeth Callaghan in the GB Newsroom. British schoolboy Alex Batty, who went missing 6 years ago in Spain, has returned to the UK. The 17-year-old was just 11 when he vanished with his mother and grandfather. He was found on Thursday in France after leaving the spiritual commune where he was living with his mother. Earlier, his family in the UK said they couldn't wait to be reunited with Alex. The Israeli Prime Minister says he's heartbroken over the deaths of 3 hostages who were accidentally killed yesterday. Benjamin Netanyahu described it as a terrible tragedy and is haunted by how close they were to rescuing the 3 men. They were killed after being misidentified as a threat. It's emerged they were holding up white flags at the time. The UK and Italy have agreed to finance a plan to return migrants to Tunisia, as the Prime Minister warned that illegal migration could overwhelm European countries. Rishi Sunak addressed a crowd of Italian Conservatives in Rome today after meeting Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. The agreement will see the 2 countries assist in the voluntary return of migrants currently stuck in Tunisia. The Prime Minister says it's now more important than ever to tackle illegal migration.
If we do not tackle this problem, the numbers will only grow. It will overwhelm our countries and our capacity to help those who actually need our help the most. The cost of accommodating these people will anger our citizens, who won't understand why their money should have to be spent on dealing with the consequences of this evil trade. It will destroy the public's faith, not just in us as politicians, but in our very systems of government.
In breaking news, 61 migrants, including women and children, have drowned following a shipwreck off Libya. That's according to the International Organization for Migration in Libya. It says the boat was carrying 86 people and departed from the Libyan city of Zawa. A Royal Navy destroyer warship has shot down a suspected attack drone targeting merchant shipping in the Red Sea. Defence Secretary Grant Shapps says HMS Diamond hit the target overnight with a Sea Viper missile. The ship recently arrived in the region as part of efforts to increase maritime security. Pop star Ollie Alexander will represent the United Kingdom at the Eurovision Song Contest in 2024. The Years and Years lead singer and BAFTA-winning actor has scored 5 10 UK singles and 2 #1 albums. The song he'll perform in the Swedish competition next May is yet to be announced. This is GB News across the UK on TV, in your car and on digital radio and on your smart speaker by saying play GB News. Now it's back to you, Mark.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Welcome to Mark Dolan Tonight. Why is Rod Stewart leaving America to come and live in Britain? Meanwhile, a top US mayor has banned white people from an official Christmas party. We'll get the inside story from the Queen of US showbiz, royal and political reporting, Kinsey Schofield. Plus, at tomorrow's newspaper front pages and live reaction in the studio from my top pundits. Tonight, Olympic gymnast and TV personality Lisa Mason, former Labour advisor Paul Richards, and dancer, actor and national treasure Wayne Sleep. Plus, they'll be nominating their headline heroes and back page zeros of the day. A packed hour, and those papers are on the way. But first, my take at 10. Forgive me if I don't indulge in the pearl clutching around the Prince Harry phone hacking case this week. I'll take no lectures from the prodigal prince, the world's least happy millionaire, and a man who made self-pity an Olympic sport. This guy hasn't just got a chip on his shoulder, he's got an entire sack of Maris Pipers. Although given his previous drug use, he's no stranger to being mashed. Now, I condemn the appalling crime of phone hacking done to many celebrities and public figures, including Harry. It's an egregious invasion of privacy. It's cynical, it's cruel, it's heartless, and it's not journalism. Victims of phone hacking were driven to despair as the most private, intimate stories about their lives started appearing in the newspapers. These stars suffered years of paranoia, thinking that their closest friends were dobbing them into the press. So the payout by the Mirror Group of £140,000 to Harry is appropriate. But a bit like doping in cycling, phone hacking was an easy loophole exploited by many journalists at many newspapers. It was rife in the industry, and whilst Harry rightly gets his day in court and justice for this misdemeanour, I'm not having it that this wealthy, famous and powerful man is some kind of victim. Of course, Harry and his omnipotent Mrs. Meghan love to cast themselves as victims. Victims of the royal family, victims of the press, because victimhood, the industry of poor me, is their currency. A currency which is losing its value faster than Bitcoin. The couple are a laughingstock in the United States, with cartoons mocking their double standards and hypocrisy. And even the left-leaning US talk show hosts are tearing Prince Harry a second backside every night as a result of his navel-gazing narcissism. They've lost the Spotify deal, the Netflix deal has a question mark hanging over it, and Harry's vicious and cruel war against his own family, which was profitable back in the day, appears to be subject to the law of diminishing returns. Now, having your phone hacked is outrageous and it's deeply offensive. But so is selling your soul for millions of dollars, slagging off your family, your country, attacking the free press. And I'll tell you another thing which is offensive. effectively branding two members of your own family, your father Charles and your sister-in-law Catherine, as a pair of racists. Now, perhaps Harry does not think they're racist, but he's deafening in his silence. One statement from his spokespeople, the Californian Kremlin, would kill this story off instantly. But I doubt that Harry wants that. I tend to agree with the embattled former editor of the Daily Mirror, Piers Morgan, who came out fighting this week and suggests that Harry wants to destroy the royal family. Now, many, including Harry, would deny that, except we have the evidence. We have the receipts, the bitchy podcasts, the vicious Oprah Winfrey corporate interview, the Omid Scobie books, which are published at the very least with the blessing of the Sussexes, if not their direct involvement. But the greatest smoking gun of all is Harry's tell-all book, Spare, which even before publication was hanging over the royal family like the sword of Damocles. Our poor late great Queen Elizabeth no doubt had sleepless nights as she speculated on what its content might be and the implications for her own family and a monarchy she worked so hard to preserve. Did the knowledge that a nasty book about the family on the way hasten her departure? Well, you tell me. It can't have helped, can it? Or made life pleasant for her in her final days. Harry knew that this book would be distressing for Elizabeth, for Prince Philip, his brother William, his father Charles, and others. But he pressed on regardless, even though he didn't need the money and didn't need the publicity. So spare me the idea that Harry is the great victim here. Look, he's had a hard life. He buried his mum too young, and he didn't choose to be born in the spotlight. But by marrying a millionaire actress and moving to Hollywood, California, he has chosen to stay in the spotlight. He's written books, he's done TV shows. This man says he craves privacy, but is the main scriptwriter in his own very public soap opera. I'm not buying the sob story or the crocodile tears. Cry me a river, Harry. That's a nice song, that, isn't it? Cry Me a River. I'll spare you the indignity of singing it. But what do you think? Mark at GBnews.com. Am I too hard on Prince Harry? Look, he shouldn't have been hacked. A disgraceful crime. But I don't see him as the victim. Let me know your thoughts. That is Mark at GBnews.com. Let's get the views of my top pundits tonight. Olympic gymnast and TV personality Lisa Mason, former Labour advisor Paul Richards, and dancer and actor Wayne Sleep. Lisa, your reaction to what I've had to say there. Harry is no victim.
I mean, I think you're a bit harsh on him sometimes, I'm just going to say. I know everyone's going to go, boo, you know. I mean, phone hacking, it's just so low on the barrel, isn't it? It's just... He deserves to get what he gets, and I think, for me, I don't know, I've just got a different take on it, and especially, you know, when you make the comments about, you know, the racism in the family, and, you know, it's a different tone when you have children of colour. People can say things that they think is OK, and it's definitely not, so I can kind of sit here and be a bit more like, we can't just throw an attack at him because we really don't know. We're only hearing one side of the story as well, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, listen, I think you've defended him very well, and there are plenty of people who do support Prince Harry. Paul, what's your reaction?
Well, I won't defend him on most grounds, but on this grounds I will, because I think he's doing it on behalf of all the other people that have been hacked, and some of them are not the powerful people that you're describing there, but just ordinary people caught up in this absolutely terrible, immoral web of intrigue where these journalists thought they could get away with it. So I think he's actually done us all a bit of a service by shining a light on this despicable practice, and maybe he's speaking for all of those other people who are voiceless.
What do you think, Wayne? Have you been hacked, by the way, in your phone?
Oh, I've had worse than that. I've had them at my door, and I was in a Muse, and they wanted to. They went through the letterbox for 3 days. These sort of journalists going, "Come out, we know you're dying," because they wanted to say I had AIDS because I was going to a physio in Arley Street underneath an AIDS clinic, and they got it totally wrong. And I had to get a solicitor and lawyer and everything else, and I was hacked as well. So I agree that and then I went against the editor of the News of the World, said it now, and he said, well, you'll have to buy the paper to see if we're going to write the story. So at 11 o'clock at night, we're in Piccadilly Circus, wait for the first editions, and it wasn't in. but it was such a turmoil for me that anything that can be done every time it happens out there, you should complain and go and fight them, and then maybe they'll leave off eventually. But on the other hand, if you're in it to play the game and make money out of being a personality, which he has, you're up for grabs, and get used to it, and don't be a mamby-pamby feeling sorry for yourself.
Paul, do you think I'm too hard on Prince Harry?
Yes, you know I do.
But why? I mean, Paul, let me just, you know, it's a matter of public record. He's attacked his family non-stop through podcasts, through a book, through a Netflix TV series. This is a guy that seems like he does want to bring down the royal family.
Of course he doesn't want to bring down the royal family.
Well, he's not helping, is he, Paul?
But I don't think he's one of them. But
he's not helping them, is he?
The story is about phone hacking, though, not about his personal morality or his book deals or anything else. This is about newspapers taking people's phones, hacking into their messages, invading their privacy, and then splashing it all over the news. And that is wrong, and that's what the courts have found. Good.
Lisa, why can't Prince Harry step in and defend his own father and his sister-in-law and say, listen, these people are not racists?
Because, as I said, I think it's very much... There's a lot of people that have undertones of racism when you're around people of colour, or if you have children. You see things very differently from people that are surrounded by predominantly white people or are in a predominantly white family. You know,
all right.
And let's face it, basically, if we look at Kate, I mean, the press dragged her at one point, saying she was a commoner, you know, and then they attacked Meghan, but it was more on her skin tone.
They do it to everyone. They do it to everyone. Listen, briefly, Lisa, what about the fact that Harry has, you know, let's set aside the royal racism allegations for just a moment. What about these endless attacks on the family? Why is he washing his dirty linen in public and getting paid for it? That's not right, is it?
Well, is your family perfect? Do you think Susan's not airing her business on Facebook?
Well, actually, my mum is... Listen, my mum is absolutely perfect, let me tell you. We must get her on the show soon. She'll be at home now nodding with a cup of tea going, oh, I am perfect. But listen, the bottom line is that I don't make money from slagging off my family, and that's what Harry does, Lisa Mason.
Yes, I know, but if you could make money slagging off someone that's hurt you, you probably would. So there we are.
There you go. Well, listen, it's all about opinions, and my pundits don't agree with me, which is what the show is all about. Let me know your thoughts. Mark at GBNews.com. Next up, looking forward to this. Why is Rod Stewart leaving America to come back and live in Britain? It's an amazing story, and that's next.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There's only three people you can trust in life: your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquare, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle. Could you be quiet? What is this?
It's my new teeth. It's your new teeth. I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie. Second best. You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with these three.
Oh! No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour. Sundays on GB News.
Which finger?
I'll get to your emails shortly, but it's time for US News with the queen of American showbiz, royal and political reporting, Kinsey Schofield. And Kinsey, let's talk about one of the biggest stars in the world, Rod Stewart, the ultimate crooner, leaving America, returning to the UK. Why?
I mean, I believe it's truly because some of the California's more progressive policies are leading to an increase in crime. But you're right, Rod Stewart has chosen to live full time at his home in the UK to support his wife, Penny Lancaster. According to the Daily Mail, Penny loves the life she's made away from America and away from LA. Friends close to Rod say that he's grown tired of LA's toxic culture and feels like he had no privacy here. To put the nail in the coffin, he's relisted his Los Angeles mansion for $80 million, which will buy you an awful lot of Marmite.
Definitely, $80 million is remarkable. And of course, Rod Stewart, a big star in the UK, he's a big deal in America too, isn't he?
He is. I mean, you know, if you want my body and you think I'm sexy, come on, sugar, let me know. I mean, he's a religion.
Can we concentrate on the show, actually, Kinsey? We've got work to do.
No more flirting.
Well, listen, I'll be delighted to have Rod back. There's a bit of a brain drain from Hollywood at the moment because Ozzy Osbourne and Sharon, I think they're moving back to the UK as well. And James Corden.
Yes, I mean, I do think it's just kind of the chaos of some of these lax policies when it comes to crime. You know, if you run into a store today and steal something, there's a good chance that the cops are just going to let you go within the next, you know, within, I'd say 3 or 4 hours, you're back on the streets. So what is going to keep people from behaving badly when there are no repercussions? I just think that it has to do with a lot of these progressive policies that don't, you know, they're not very intimidating when it comes to criminal activity.
Well, I agree. I think those Democratic governors are destroying some of America's great cities. Listen, let's talk about a special Christmas party in Boston. No white individuals invited. Tell me more.
I know, Mark, you and I would be left at the door, so I'm going to cry. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu defended her decision to host this holiday party for elected officials of color by saying that it's nothing new. Now, the only reason we all know about this is because of an email that accidentally was sent to the entire city council. But this was, a party, a holiday party that was specific for elected officials of color. She says that this party has been a fixture in Boston politics for more than a decade without any complaints. One uninvited, because he was initially invited by accident over that email, council member responded to the controversy by saying, "I do find it divisive, but what are you going to do about it?" So and Michelle Wu posted a picture of it. So obviously she still doesn't think that there's anything wrong with the event.
Amazing. So only individuals of color invited to the event. Segregation is back, racism is back, and it's like Martin Luther King never existed. The world's gone mad. Can we talk about a little clip there that we've just seen, a White House Christmas video? Let's have a look at this, a kind of musical performance from the president's home and official residence. How's this going down?
Now, Mark, I cannot hear you, but I believe you asked me about the video we're looking at.
Yeah.
First Lady Michelle Obama posted this magic, wonderful, joy-filled Christmas video that you can only appreciate if you've hit up Prince Harry's mushroom stash. People were so ugly about Melania Trump's beautiful Christmas decorations, and in comes Joe Biden to turn Christmas into Mardi Gras at the White House. The only thing missing was Rose Montana to flash everyone again. But again, I cannot hear you, so I have no idea whether or not I have delivered this this reaction to you or not.
There you go. Well, listen, well done for being such a pro, Kinsey. We're having a couple of issues with sound. We're going to reboot that in just a moment. I'll be honest, I quite like this performance. I think the White House looks lovely, and it's great to see them dancing around. And it's giving me a bit of festive cheer. Very talented folks they are. If you want to come back to me just now, Andy. Also, we're going to reveal the circumstances of Matthew Perry's death. Matthew Perry, of course, the star of Friends, who died in a hot tub just a couple of months ago. We've got more on that very shortly. Kinsey, listen, I've just touched there on Matthew Perry, one of the biggest comedy stars in the world, a very talented guy who died a couple of months ago in his own hot tub. And we've got more information about how he died.
I mean, very little, Mark. This is, they say, a result of ketamine. And now the question is, because some of his close friends have said that he was going through a specific ketamine therapy, although others argue that it was a week and a half ago before his death, so it shouldn't have still been in his system. So now the mystery surrounding his death, aside from ketamine and drowning, was this prescribed or was this not prescribed? And that is what people are trying to find out at this point in time.
OK, let's talk about Prince Harry and Meghan if we can, Kinsey. And a vendetta which is keeping the brands away from this couple. Tell me more.
Yes, but shout out to Wayne Sleep. I'm always so jealous. You have the best guests. Deadline Hollywood is reporting that Harry and Meghan believe that the royal family is behind the vendetta, blocking their big brand deals, while they primarily source the UK's Daily Express within the article. Deadline is a big, industry publication here. So some of those decision makers are reading this story today. They've been in talks with high-profile brands that didn't lead to anything but should have, a source told the Express. Those brands then actively courted other members of the royal family. One example is Dior. The source said that Harry wore a Dior suit to the coronation and the Sussexes were starting to build a relationship with that fashion house. Then all of a sudden Camilla starts wearing it. Those conversations are shut down for the Sussexes. And to add salt to the open wound, the actress playing Kate Middleton, Meg Bellamy in The Crown, was announced as the new face of the brand, which rumors were circulating that Meghan was becoming the new face of the brand. So that source is stressing it's all very suspicious timing.
And a reconciliation with the king, do you think, in 2024 for Harry, or is that wishful thinking?
Well, wild that these two stories are coming out around the same time, Mark, because that Deadline story saying that Meghan's team doesn't appear to know what to do at this point. The consensus is that they need to repair the damage within the royal family. 24 hours later, Page 6 releasing this story that Harry intends to call the king at Christmas, for some sort of reconciliation. He plans to also talk to Meghan and the kids. So the idea that Deadline is reporting brands don't want to work with them. Only way to clear the air is to reconcile with the royal family. Then Prince Harry intends on calling the king to reconcile at Christmas. That's the suspicious timing, Mark Dolan.
Indeed, blimey, it's almost like it's orchestrated. Kinsey, we've loved having you this year. You are the jewel in the crown of this show. Every Saturday night, it would not be the same without you. What are your plans for Christmas?
I'm going home to Arizona. I'll sit around the fire and talk to my mom and dad about how much I love being on your show and, hugs and kisses to all my family members.
Oh, well, brilliant stuff. Happy Christmas, Happy New Year. There will be lots of Kinsey Schofield in it. Thanks, Kinsey. Do check out her brilliant podcast, To Die For Daily, and her website of the same name. OK, folks, looking forward to this. We've got the papers next with full pundit reaction. Don't go anywhere. Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Oh, yeah.
It's 10:30, so Andy, it's time for this. And we didn't want to make Andy look bad there. Andy has stepped in tonight to do the show, doing a great job. And the Mail on Sunday. Rishi, illegal migrants will overwhelm the UK. I'll come to that shortly, but we've got the Telegraph first. PM. Hostile states using migration to destabilise the West. Also, Starmer acted for extremist group in bid to overturn ban. Pope's former advisor jailed in Vatican fraud trial of the century. And Lib Dems call for scrutiny over worrying Telegraph takeover. OK, next up, The Express. Tragic end in hunt for Gaynor. Very, very sad story, this. The family of missing mum Gaynor Lord have been left devastated after a woman's body was recovered from a river near where she vanished. Gaynor, who is 55, disappeared 8 days ago. CCTV showed her rushing through the streets of Norwich and visiting the cathedral. A devastating story there. Matthew Perry died from ketamine drug and drowning. OK, where should we go next, Andy? Let's go to the Mail on Sunday now, which I gave you a sneak preview of just a moment ago. Let me get my ducks in a row here. The Mail on Sunday. Rishi, illegal migrants will overwhelm UK. Rishi Sunak has warned that Britain faces being overwhelmed by illegal migration, which will destroy our democracy if radical measures are not taken now. In his strongest words yet on the challenges posed by porous borders, the PM used a speech in Italy to demand a Thatcherite approach to curbing illegal migration and to call for an international human rights laws to be changed to stop them being exploited. Meanwhile, Labour has been accused of hypocrisy after the Mail on Sunday discovered one of its election candidates organises children's holidays to Rwanda, a nation party chiefs maintain is too unsafe for illegal migrants. OK, next up, what shall we have? Let's have a look at the Mirror. Strictly winner elevated. There you go. I'll get more on who won Strictly very shortly. Lisa, are you across that one? Strictly Come Dancing?
I actually watched a little bit. I didn't get into it very much.
We'll get what knowledge you have.
I get mad because I want to do it.
We've got Wayne Sleep in the studio. If you can't ask him about dancing, who can you? Boys reunion with Gran. Teen Alex back home. Lad flies to UK from France 6 years after going missing. No child should have to spend 6 years in France.
Better food, to be fair.
Andy, have I been cancelled? Are we still on air? Thank God for that. Right, where should we go next? Let's go to the Sunday Times. Undercover footage shows Royal Mail leaving letters on the shelf. Postal workers are being forced to deliver parcels ahead of letters, leaving first-class letters, bills, government correspondence, fines and hospital appointments abandoned in the depot, an undercover investigation has found. Cameron, time for sustainable Gaza ceasefire. Massive story. Lord Cameron, the new Foreign Secretary, has joined forces with his German counterpart to call for a sustainable ceasefire in the Middle East. And he warns that too many civilians have been killed in the Hamas-Israel conflict. Procreate like me, says Elon Musk, the owner of Twitter and Tesla, arriving with one of his 11 children at a particular venue, a political festival of ideas staged in Rome. OK, new hope for blood tests to detect killer sepsis is the other story. A Daily Star Sunday now, and exclusive, 1 in 3 will flee relatives for me time in the garden this Christmas. I will mostly be hiding in the shed. You've had your fill of turkey, and those annoying relatives who've drunk all your best booze can get stuffed. What better place to escape the Christmas mayhem and chill out than your garden shed? Just make sure it has a heater and a well-stocked beer fridge. Last but not least, The Observer. Memories of those we lost in 2023, including the author Martin Amis, Matthew Perry, and, of course, Sinead O'Connor. The Observer, Sunak's missed targets leave NHS facing a winter crisis, and hostages shot by the Israeli Defence Forces waved the white flag. Lots of big stories to get through. More on that Rishi Sunak story in Italy shortly. But can we start, please, Paul, with this significant development from the new Foreign Secretary, it's Lord Cameron, saying it's time for a sustainable Gaza ceasefire. Your reaction?
Well, I've read the piece, actually, and he's not actually quite saying what the headline suggests. He certainly isn't saying that the Israelis should lay down their arms and let the Hamas free reign. He's saying there needs to be peace on both sides and some sort of process towards the so-called two-state solution with a viable Palestine alongside a secure Israel. So he's saying something not especially new.
So this is a misleading headline. Well, the word ceasefire is misleading. Does the word ceasefire come out of his mouth, do we know?
Yes, but it's the word sustainable is the active word in that sentence because that's his get-out clause where he means it's got to be sustainable because both sides have laid down their arms.
But will that terminology offend Jewish people in this country, and will it offend Israelis?
I think it might do, because if you only read the headline, the suggestion is that the Israelis should stop and not defeat Hamas, which are their war aims, as we know. And I think if you read the piece, actually, he's saying Hamas are reprehensible, and there's no way Hamas should be representing the Palestinian people.
So do you still detect that Cameron, as our new Foreign Secretary, supports the principle, the military objective of wiping out Hamas? Do you think the British government still supports that?
I think he does, but what he's trying to do is nuance it a bit and say, beyond this, we need a peace process, because what we've always learned is once the war stops, what do you do about the peace? And he's saying we need that peace process for a two-state solution.
Now, you're gunning for a Labour government and for Keir Starmer to be Prime Minister.
I am.
How do you think Keir Starmer would handle this conflict differently to the current PM?
Well, I don't know about differently, but he certainly acted like a statesperson, and he's caused an awful lot of grief inside the Labour Party as a result, and he's been criticised by his own side enormously for the stance that he's taken, but he is trying to behave like a Prime Minister in waiting and not fall into the traps that have been laid. So, I mean, that's the reason he's behaving like he is. He wants to be Prime Minister.
Well, what's happening in the Middle East is an absolute tragedy on both sides, and, of course, the attack on October the 7th was horrific and reprehensible. But this has been a positive story for Starmer. He's stood his ground. He's faced off his critics.
Yes, he has, and he's done even more to bring the Labour Party into the mainstream and to be seen as an alternative government, which is all we ask.
Most definitely. Listen, this is a shocking story, Wayne Sleep. Undercover footage shows the Royal Mail leaving letters on the shelf. So you might be waiting for the results of a blood test.
Yeah.
Not you, because your body's a temple.
Well, thank you, dear.
OK. But you might be waiting for a Christmas card from Grandma, or perhaps, I don't know, some cheque that needs to be paid into your account. Instead, it seems the Royal Mail are prioritising packages.
That's ridiculous.
And that's in the Sunday Times.
Well, I think the actual Mail, both my sister and my brother-in-law work for the Royal Mail, and my sister goes in every Christmas in Plymouth because they've got an overload of mail that they've got to get out by Christmas. So is it because they decided not to pay overtime staff?
Well, I think one issue is that the parcels are a more profitable part of the business, and therefore...
Yes, of course it is. They cost more money.
That's it.
And it costs more money to deliver them or go to the post office when you're out and get a package that hasn't put enough money on the stamp on it.
Are people still sending cards anymore? I haven't sent a card for years.
I've had a few, although a few of my friends have given up, and I've actually, you know, just got an email or a WhatsApp.
An e-card.
Yeah, but you're right about it, because it's not just Christmas cards that are being delivered. It might be what's come out of your tests from something.
I had that happen.
Did you?
What happened to you?
So I had an appointment at the hospital and I received my letter, but it was for 2 weeks before. So I missed my appointment, and obviously with the state of the NHS is right now, for me to get a new appointment now, it's not going to happen until the new year.
And it could be crucial.
Yeah.
You know, but not for you. But I mean, for anybody with, you know, like, it could be a terminating disease if you're not careful.
Of course.
No, I mean, we need to believe that when we send a letter, Wayne, it will arrive. I'm not sure we have that confidence anymore.
No, I don't. I mean, I've had letters that have gone around the world and come back to me about a year later. Mind you, that's because they didn't put any address on them. But
is that right?
But they do find you eventually.
You must... I mean, certainly back in the day, you'll have... Because people don't really do fan mail anymore, but in the day, back in the day, you must have received a lot of fan mail.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Have you had any interesting items sent to you? Anything exciting or
I say it on television.
Of course you can.
Well, the Marlborough Man used to write to me.
What is the actor who was in the Marlborough adverts?
No, the guy on the Marlborough advert for cigarettes.
Right, the billboard advert.
He was in the Stetson hat and all that. The trouble is, if you're in a show like Cat and it's over Christmas... I was in the Tatler magazine and I was face down. I won't go too deep into this. I was face down.
Is that what you said to him?
Okay. And these little photographs, a day in the life of Wayne Sleep and the Tatler, and it was just little pictures of me, and one was this big, and it was of my bottom on, you know. And anyway, so the Marlborough Man...
Let's not gloss over your bottom.
The Marlborough Man wrote to me. But unfortunately, you see, they don't need your address. They know you're in a show. And they can get you.
So it's just Wayne Sleep, Cats, London.
Yes, that's right, and it gets to you. And then, unfortunately, my secretary thought it was fan mail, didn't read it properly.
Oh, no.
Sent, yes, Wayne Sleep's around, he could see you on January 8th between shows. And he came in cowboy boots, jeans, the hat, you know, and a briefcase. Can I say what was in the briefcase?
You might. Well, I'm assuming some Marlboros.
No. A soiled jockstrap and a pair of dark glasses.
I want your life. You know how to live. So this was a romantic
dream.
manoeuvre.
Yeah, it was a nice manoeuvre.
Did you yield to his advances?
Well, I did have a little kiss with him, and then I looked in the mirror, and the black dye from his moustache had come off on my face. So that was it. That was the end of the romance.
Did you get the jockstrap dry cleaned?
No, I didn't go that far.
Paul, can you do better than that? You did it.
Where have you put me? What is going on?
My goodness gracious me.
I'm going to be barred from everywhere now.
We love it.
OK, listen, I tell you what, we're going to now take a crunching U-turn, and we're going to discuss the Prime Minister, Paul, in Italy. Of course, he's been meeting with the Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, and he's been speaking out quite vociferously about illegal migration, and I think we've got a clip of the PM in Italy. Take a listen to this. Strong words from the PM.
If we do not tackle this problem, the numbers will only grow. It will overwhelm our countries and our capacity to help those who actually need our help the most. The cost of accommodating these people will anger our citizens, who won't understand why their money should have to be spent on dealing with the consequences of this evil trade. It will destroy the public's faith, not just in us as politicians, but in our very systems of government.
Now, Lisa Mason, it's very tragic that we live in a world where people are struggling to find a place to make home.
Right.
And it's a dangerous world.
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment, the cost to my viewers and listeners and to you and me of accommodating people entering the country illegally is £8 million a day. It's got to stop.
Yeah. Yes. Because we're such a small little island as well. I mean, we are a great country and we have so many resources in this country that a lot of people come here for those resources. But ultimately, we end up helping not our own citizens and people that are actually working and paying their taxes and doing all these things. I didn't even know it was this much money a day. That's insane
£8 million
to
a day,
me.
Yeah. Plus all of the challenges in terms of infrastructure, access to healthcare, education and accommodation.
And everyone should be able to live a life where they're safe. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury, do we? But
well,
Paul,
listen,
what do you think?
We are all the descendants of migrants, and we need the migrants in this country to pay the taxes that we're all going to rely on for social care when we get older. And the thing I would change most of all is allow people who are here to work.
Yes.
Because they want to work, and some of them are highly, highly skilled, and they have university degrees, or they can do labouring or anything, and we lock them up in these hotels and on this barge and treat them like criminals, and let's put them to work. You know, the story of immigration to the UK is people coming here, working hard, making good, and moving up and out, and that's what we need to see with these guys
but that's,
as
of
well.
course, you know, we've got legal net migration of up to 670,000 in a year.
This language from Rishi Sunak is all about the election. You and I know what this is about. This is about next year's general election. Do you remember Mrs Thatcher saying we were being swamped back in 1978, just ahead of a general election? Now he's saying overwhelmed. It's the same language. It's about election politics.
But you can't justify
it's not about
these
people's
crossings,
safety.
which are really part of a business model of gangsters.
But you smash the gangs then, is how you do that. You stop the boats arriving even in France. You don't, you know, while they're still being on the motorway to the ports. That's how you smash
the business
business
hold my
model.
breath for that to happen, because that's a global challenge, and at the moment, a challenge that's not successful.
Yeah, but our ministers don't want to talk to their French and Belgian counterparts because of ideological reasons, and a new government would do that and smash the gangs. That's the way you stop the boats.
So Labour and Keir Starmer will smash the gangs. How's he going to do that without the cooperation of Europe, who are currently failing to stop the boats?
Well, I think there will be more cooperation with a change of government. I think there'll also be more resource put into that aspect of it, which is stopping the business model, as you say.
Wayne, what about this idea of a disincentive? The Rwanda plan is controversial, but the idea of it is that the gangsters who are taking money from tragic people to, you know, start a new life in Britain won't be able to say it's a new life in the UK. You may wind up in Rwanda.
Well, I just don't know why they're saying that it's now a safe zone to go back to. Are they going there for some of their holidays, the MPs? Why don't they go and investigate it first and get it at source to see what happens on a documentary, how they get over here, who they drop off on, how the gangsters get on there, and you only can do it by being on the spot at the time. And I just did a thing last year where all these boat people were coming in to land in Redcar, and they came there, 100 of them went to a hotel, they didn't take their fingerprints, they didn't test their passport, and wondered why they'd all disappeared 2 days later. So they're wandering around England and we don't know where they are.
And these scenes are unedifying to the British people, to my viewers and listeners, Paul, including many Labour voters who are furious about this.
Well, that's why we need to stop it. But the way you stop it, like I say, is to smash those gangs that are profiting from this human misery. That's the way to do it.
OK, well, look, it's a debate that will rumble on, but some good news. How would you like to win £10,000 in cash, brand new tech and shopping vouchers? Lisa's in.
Please.
Well, you could be the winner of our very first Great British giveaway. Here's all the details on how you could make those prizes yours.
This is your chance to win cash, treats and tech in our very first Great British giveaway. There's a totally tax-free £10,000 cash up for grabs. Cash which would help make 2024 a whole lot better. We're also going to send you shopping with £500 worth of vouchers to spend in the store of your choice. What would be on your shopping list? If it's a new iPhone, we've also got that covered too, with the latest iPhone 15 Pro Max, which you'll also receive. For another chance chance to win the iPhone, the vouchers and £10,000 cash. Text GBWIN to 84902. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB01, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday, the 5th of January. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Good luck.
Brilliant stuff. Good luck if you enter that competition. Now, coming up, more from the papers, and my pundits will nominate their headline heroes and back page zeros. Another cracking couple of stories as well. Some royal stuff, some showbiz, plenty of politics. Don't go anywhere. See you in 2.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquare, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle. Could you be quiet? What is this?
It's my new teeth.
It's your new teeth. I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie. Second best. You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with you three.
No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour. Sundays on GB News.
And loving the company of my top pundits tonight, and let's get this story from the Daily Star Sunday, and it's a jolly one. We could do with a smile, couldn't we? It's been a long, cold, dark, rainy year, but I'm looking forward to 2024. Exclusive: 1 in 3 will flee relatives for me time in the garden this Christmas. I will mostly be hiding in the shed. OK, right, listen, first of all, you have Wayne Sleep. You got Jose with you. Your better half.
Yes.
So Christmas Day, who's cooking?
Jose.
OK, and what will he do?
Cook, clean, laundry, iron.
Now I know why you married him.
Yes.
And there's me thinking it was sex.
Well, it's that too. But he hasn't got time for it anymore.
Well, he's in the kitchen. He's scrubbing the toilets.
Yeah.
But what about you? Do you feel like you need to escape on Christmas Day? Because many feel overwhelmed by that many people around them.
Well, I have a definite law that I don't celebrate it outside. Because I can't escape. Once I was on a boat at Christmas, and once we'd left the blimmin' harbour, I was stuck on it for 4 hours.
Oh, no.
And I couldn't get off. And I spent most of the time on Christmas Day in the tin toilet, sitting there
Can't have that.
to try and get away from people. So don't do that.
No, the tin toilet sounds like a dodgy pub. OK, well, let's get my pundits' nominations for headline heroes and back page zeros of the day. And who's your hero of the day, Lisa Mason?
I'm going to say Nigel Farage because you know why? I think he should have won.
So do I.
Like, he did fabulous, and yeah.
He's the honorary king of the jungle.
Yes.
Paul, who's your hero of the day?
Well, I'm excited to hear that Rod the Mod's coming back. I love Rod Stewart, and if he's back in the UK, maybe he'll do some concerts. Fantastic.
Yes.
Definitely. Really one of the best singers of all
Brilliant.
time.
Love
what a voice.
him. Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
So let's have him home and let's see him singing.
He's never really gone out of fashion. You hear about people with the comebacks, but he's always been around, Rod.
He's always been around, and he's, with the Faces back in the 60s even,
Stay With Me, what a tune that is.
Indeed.
Yeah. What's your favourite Rod Stewart song?
I like the early albums. I think he was really a proper soul singer, fantastic stuff.
Raspy
Absolute
voice.
Legend, yeah.
Such a nice guy.
Someone told him once that his voice sounds like a concrete mixer.
That's a compliment.
What a compliment. Yeah. Have you met Rod? Have you hung out with Rod?
Yes, I have, yes. We went to see a thing on Freddie Mercury together, and
Is that right?
he was great. He was just so down to earth, and I'd only met him about 10 years before, but it was like we'd never...
And he didn't present you with a soiled jock strap in a suitcase or anything like that?
I wish.
There you go. Who is your headline hero of the day?
Shane McGovern, because
brilliant.
he died, poor man, and legend.
Yeah.
And he left all this money behind a bar, 8,000 or 10,000 quid, so everybody could have a wonderful party on his behalf. Now, how generous that is to think of other people when you're at death's door. I mean, not many people would be...
Can't take it with you, though.
No, this is true.
Back page zeros, I'm just going to need a name and a sentence if I can, Lisa, because of the time.
Joey Barton.
OK, ex-footballer, critical of women commentating in men's football.
Yeah, I just shh.
Put it away. Quieten down. Paul, briefly, your hero, your back page zero.
Viktor Orban for dropping the Ukrainians in it at Christmas and blocking the cash they need to beat Putin.
There you go. Fair point. Can't argue with that. Wayne Sleep, your back page zero.
Sadiq Khan for preventing automobiles going into the Ukraine because he said they didn't have a low enough emission. How ridiculous. Think of all the bombs that are going off, spreading dust everywhere.
Yeah.
All the concrete you have to dive through. And he's saying that sort of thing, which could so help them at this time of year.
He has lost the plot, absolutely. Can I thank my amazing pundits tonight? Paul, Wayne, Lisa, loved your company. Come back soon, please.
Thank you.
And also well done to Maria, Andy and Mescana for a very busy show. See you tomorrow, Father Christmas live in the studio.
Ooh.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Jonathan Vautry here with your GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. Rain warnings are in force across western Scotland throughout this evening and overnight, with potential for a month's worth of rain falling by the time we reach the end of the weekend. So do take care here. Elsewhere, it will be a drier night, still some outbreaks of drizzle to watch out for, and the cloud will also be thickening in. Where you hold on to a few clearer spells, you might see the odd mist patch, temperatures perhaps getting down into 6-7 degrees Celsius, but elsewhere it will be an unseasonably mild night, not falling much lower than 10 or 11 degrees Celsius for Northern Ireland and Scotland. That rain then in place still for Western Scotland. It will be persistent throughout the day on Sunday. Potential for flooding and transport disruption, even some landslides due to this amount of rainfall. Again, England and Wales should stay drier. The cloud wanting to break its way up into the afternoon, particularly to the eastern side of the country. Temperatures here again 11, perhaps ranging into 13 degrees Celsius. As we head into Monday, that frontal system that is stuck across northern Scotland will slowly drift its way southwards, now spreading more into Northern Ireland, Northern England, parts of Wales as well. Will turn into quite a drab, dreary and damp day for many of us. The far southeast perhaps staying drier, still with a fair amount of cloud around, but some brighter spells pushing their way into the far northwest of Scotland with a few showers, but also some fresher and cooler conditions. So temperatures will be falling their way off across northern areas of the UK as we head throughout next week. Bye-bye.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Callaghan in the GB Newsroom. British schoolboy Alex Batty, who went missing 6 years ago in Spain, has been reunited with his family in the UK. Greater Manchester Police say they've yet to establish whether a criminal investigation will be opened into his disappearance. The 17-year-old was just 11 when he vanished with his mother and grandfather. He was found on Thursday in France after leaving the spiritual commune where he was living with his mother. The Israeli Prime Minister says he's heartbroken over the deaths of 3 hostages who were accidentally killed yesterday. Benjamin Netanyahu described it as a terrible tragedy and is haunted by how close they were to rescuing the 3 men. They were killed after being misidentified as a threat. It's emerged they were holding up white flags at the time. The UK and Italy have agreed to finance a plan to return migrants to Tunisia, as the Prime Minister warned that illegal migration could overwhelm European countries. Rishi Sunak addressed a crowd of Italian Conservatives in Rome today after meeting Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. The agreement will see the 2 countries assist in the voluntary return of migrants currently stuck in Tunisia. The Prime Minister says it's now more important than ever to tackle illegal migration.
If we do not tackle this problem, the numbers will only grow. It will overwhelm our countries and our capacity to help those who actually need our help the most. The cost of accommodating these people will anger our citizens, who won't understand why their money should have to be spent on dealing with the consequences of this evil trade. It will destroy the public's faith, not just in us as politicians, but in our very systems of government.
Meanwhile, 61 migrants, including women and children, have drowned following a shipwreck off Libya. That's according to the International Organization for Migration in Libya. It says the boat was carrying around 86 people and departed from the Libyan city of Zawa.